Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to anyone that's listening. It's the Capturing the Game Within the Game podcast featuring me, Desmond Jones, Brady. Capture the Game is sponsored by Capture Sports Agency. Our CEO and founder is Chantel Smith Jones. Today we got another fantastic guest. We already know all of our guests has been fire so far, but today we introduce you. This guy's been an author. He's a former athlete. He's also the host of the Worker in Your Game. We call him Dre All Day, Mr. All Day Baldwin. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Desmond and Brady. How you guys doing? I'm excited to be here.
Sure. I
Oh,
hope it,
we're doing good. Yeah.
yeah, we're doing good. I wish I was in Miami with you because I know the weather out there nice, man.
Yeah, I just came from Vegas, and this is a damn oven out there. It's 115 degrees.
Oh my
So
goodness.
Miami's actually cool compared to Vegas.
Well, I'll go out there and melt. You can
Yeah, it's crazy.
find me on the nearest pavement near you. But yeah, Dre, go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself, man.
Sure, I get a 2-minute version. Background from the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's my hometown. Been in Miami about 14 years, but it was always into sports. Finally moved to basketball by around age 14, which is actually pretty late if you're trying to go somewhere in ball, college, let alone pro. Only played 1 year high school ball, didn't do anything, sat the bench mostly that year. Walked on to play Division III college ball. Still had this idea to go play pro. After a year removed from graduation from college, where I worked a couple, quote unquote regular jobs, I went to this event called an exposure camp. It was like a job fair for athletes. Did pretty well at that exposure camp. Through that performance, I signed my first basketball agent. That agent helped me get my pro career started. Nearly 10-year long career started in Kaunas, Lithuania. That's where I first played overseas. From that exposure camp, going a little bit back in the story, the footage from that camp I put on this brand new website called YouTube back in 2005, and that's how people actually started to get to know me online. And it's funny because to this very day, 99% of people who recognize me outside or they see me at the mall or something, they know me from YouTube, not from playing overseas. And the funny thing, you do all that work to play overseas, people know you from YouTube. And while I was making those videos on YouTube, after a few years, players just started asking me about my approach when they learned about my background and said, man, you came from kind of like, didn't look like you were going to be anything in sports, but you made it pro. How'd you do it? Why'd you keep showing up to work on your game? Or how'd you develop the confidence to perform in a game or at a tryout? Or why'd you even keep trying, even though you played D3 college ball, your stats weren't crazy, you only played 1 year of high school. And I started talking about things like discipline and confidence and mental toughness and personal initiative, going and making things happen. And that formed the foundation of this whole framework and this brand that I now talk about on purpose, which is called Work on Your Game. It's all about taking the mental tools to get you to the top 1% in the sports world and using those same tools in the business world and in everyday life. And when I start talking about those things, what happened, Desmond, is people who weren't even athletes started hearing those messages when I was talking about mindset. And they start reaching out to me saying, look, I'm not trying to learn how to do a crossover dribble or dunk a basketball, but I still follow your stuff. Because when you talk about mindset, listen, anybody can use that. Like a teacher, a student, podcaster, entrepreneur. So this planted a seed in my head that, all right, when I'm done playing ball, I'm already good at public speaking. I already had a skill of public speaking because I made all these YouTube videos. I had like the 10,000 hours rule. I'm going to just take this and I'm going to give it to people who don't play sports. So when I was still playing ball, I already knew what I was going to do after I played ball. So in 2015, when I stopped playing ball, I just went straight into this, I guess what they call thought leadership. And that's writing books, making courses, doing speaking gigs, coaching people, things like that. And now that's what I do. I'm a CEO of my company, which is called Work on Your Game, if you couldn't guess. And that's what we do. We take the tools to get you to the top 1% in the sports world, and we show you how to use those tools in the business world and in everyday life through things like these conversations right here, through speaking, coaching, writing books, etc. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm sure we'll fill in a lot of those gaps in this conversation.
That's awesome. So with like all that you said, so with like when you said you were going to play ball and then you switched to do like the business side, what like type of challenges did you see when you decided you're going to put up the game and you're going to stop going for that and wanted to pursue doing this other stuff?
The biggest challenge was just figuring out where to get started. What do I do? I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I had these ideas and these frameworks and these things that I would talk about in my my little YouTube videos that people were giving me feedback and response on and saying that they liked the stuff. But I'm like, all right, how do I get people who are not looking up, how to do a crossover dribble to find out about the stuff that I'm talking about? How do I reach those individuals? And I really didn't know how to do that. And the way that I resolved that challenge was I was at Toastmasters, actually. I'm sure some people are familiar with Toastmasters. And at my first time that I spoke at Toastmasters, was a volunteer place that people go to work on their public speaking skills and just communication skill. I just talked about the fact that, listen, I used to play sports. I want to get into professional speaking. So I came here to see if I can learn how to do that, or if anybody knows anybody. And there just happened to be a guy in the audience who used to play in the NFL. His name was Philip Buchanan. He used to play at University of Miami, played for the LA Raiders, played for the Dolphins. And he was just, at the same time, he was leaving football and he wanted to become a professional speaker. And he said to me, well, Dre, look, I'm about to go to this conference out in California that's all about speaking. And I wasn't able to go because I had a prior engagement. But he said, anybody who I meet, I'll just pass you the information. And I said, cool. And when he came back, he passed me information on one person, and that woman became my mentor. And it's funny because she didn't even know Philip, and she didn't know me, but I took that number, I called her, and she just looked me up and said, all right, look like you have something going on. You look like you might be actually about taking action on this, so I'll sit down with you. And she sat down with me for what was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting. That 30 minutes became 3 hours because she noticed that I was paying attention. I was taking notes on everything that she said. And everything she told me, I went and did. And that is how I really started to learn the ropes of the industry of just getting your ideas out there and your intellectual property out there into the world. So that's how I got started back in 2014 going into 2015.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think, well, and I'm sure you already know you developed an amazing brand. 'Cause I was going back and listening through some of the stuff that you put out on the podcast. I'm like, yo, this dude is dropping daily nuggets. You got over 1,000, like 18, over 1,800 episodes. I'm like, yo, we just dropping stuff on weekly on Thursday. This man is dropping stuff every day, and it's like everything is filled with gems. I was scrolling through. I'm like, yo, I ain't gonna catch up. Ain't no way I'm gonna catch up, but best believe I'm gonna be taking some good tidbits out of this.
Put it on 2x speed, you can catch up.
That's all I'll be hearing for 30 minutes.
Right.
But I just love the concept of it, just working again, because it applies to all facets of your life. It's not just it's not just basketball. Like I'm an engineer. I was a decent athlete. If I would have put in more work, who knows? I probably still would have been decent. But but it's just something that I try to apply to my own life every day. It's just just work on your craft, work on your skill set, work on your game, work on whatever it is going to get you to the next step. So I love it. I love to see what or as we dive in, I'm sure we'll continue to learn more about everything that has made you who you are today, and all the people that you've influenced over these years.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it like playing overseas? So what's like something that athletes are maybe not are aware of when they're looking to play overseas?
Man, it's a great question, a deep question, a great question. And when it comes to playing basketball overseas, is that first of all, it's an amazing job, because if you really think about it, a lot of people, especially in the United States, do not leave the town that they grew up in, let alone they leave the state, and let alone they leave in the country.
That's a big fact.
Except maybe to go to college. So when I was overseas, I'm 23 years old when I first went overseas, and I was reminding myself so many times, especially in that first couple weeks there, like, man, I'm in Europe just because of basketball, just because of my ability to play ball, and the fact that I was able to sell myself and get myself that job playing overseas. So it's a job that you don't want to give up once you have it. I would guess maybe playing for the Lakers or the Knicks might be even better, but that's probably the next best thing is playing overseas. So it was an amazing experience to play overseas, just to see the world, because you're seeing places that you otherwise probably wouldn't have gone. When I think about overseas, let's say if I didn't play ball, I'm thinking about maybe Paris, Rome, places like that. And I never played in those cities, but I went to these countries that I remember when I first went overseas, I had to look up Lithuania on a map. I didn't know where exactly it was. So those kind of things you just get to see parts of the world that you otherwise wouldn't see and do things you otherwise wouldn't do if it wasn't for ball. Now, as far as actually being on the court, the first thing you realize is that this is a job. It is a profession. And when you're an American playing basketball overseas, you might be the only American on the team or one of only a few in that team or in the league, in the country that you happen to be playing in. And there is an expectation that comes with you being an American, regardless of how much they're paying you, regardless of anything. Because you're an American, especially a black guy, because you can't blend in. All right, they're expecting you to perform at a certain level. They're expecting you to be a little bit better than everybody else. And if you don't do that, you won't have a job. And I know of American players who got jobs playing overseas, or at least they thought they had a job playing overseas. They get over there, they don't perform well, they don't have a job for too long. So you really have to show up, and I mean from day one, the first time you walk on that court, you better be ready to perform, because that is the expectation. If you can't do it, then think about how many players are back home who want the job that you have, and they will gladly take it from you. And they're not going to take it. The team's going to give it to them. They're going to get rid of you, send you back home, and bring somebody else in. And that happens, and it happens really quickly. So overseas basketball is not like the NBA where you sign a contract and it's guaranteed and they owe you money even if they release you. Overseas, you don't perform, they send you home and they don't owe you anything. So you better be ready to go as soon as you get there. And I'm talking about go not just in the games, but also in practice, right? So y'all can cue up the Allen Iverson clip. Yes, in practice. You have to go in practice just as well as you go in the games over there every single day. And one other thing about overseas is that you don't play as many games as they play for people who watch NBA basketball. They play 82 games. A lot of times when the season is gone, players don't really practice that much over the course of a season. But overseas, you might play 35 games in a whole season. But the timeline is the same amount of time. So what are you doing all that extra time? You're practicing. So there are teams I play for where we practice 2 times a day, every day, Monday through Friday, and we have a game every Saturday. So that's 10 practices for every 1 game. And that's how it was the whole season. And wow. As the American, you don't take practices off. Like, you can't loaf through a practice because everybody's watching you and you're supposed to be the leader. So this is what the job is when you play overseas. This is something that a lot of players don't realize until they get over there. And if they're not ready for it, they won't be over there too long.
Yeah, that's the thing, as you're saying that too, is that people don't understand the stuff it takes to go over there. And I'm glad you explained that side to it, because people listening are probably like, oh, I want to play in the league, but then I'm going to go play overseas. I think it's going to be a walk in the park. And it's not going to be like that, as what you've been saying. They're going to get there, going to realize, well, there'll be just the game, how the game's played over there is probably way different than what it's played like over here. And then also on top of that, you probably have like the language barriers and the cultural stuff that they might not be accustomed to. So it's like, oh, they think it might be a mini, like, I don't know, vacation, and they're going to try to play. And it's just, as you said, it doesn't seem like that's what it is.
Oh, definitely not a vacation. And especially, again, as an American player, it's a higher expectation on you, and you stand out. So you, even if you want to kind of coast, you can't, because everybody can see you. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So with the staying on the overseas topic, so what is the process of being able to get to play overseas, and how, like, is it an easy process for people, or is it kind of a hard process to get through?
Well, it depends on how you define easy and hard. So my answer to the question is, I'll tell you what the process is. So to play basketball overseas, the only thing you need is for a professional team anywhere in the world to offer you a contract, and you accept it, you sign it, and then you fly overseas. Now, how you get to the position of being offered a contract, there are many different ways to go about it. So if you take a player, what school did you guys go to?
We went to Indiana Tech. I chuckle because this
Indiana
is just small, just a small school for Fort Wayne. So NAIA.
Okay, NAIA. All right. So let's just say somebody went to Indiana, like the Hoosiers. You go to Indiana, a D1 school, or Michigan, or Duke, or North Carolina, and when you get out of school like that, you're probably thinking you might have a chance at the NBA. So you enter the draft, or you go to summer league, you go to training camp, and let's say you don't make anybody's roster. Now, because of your D1 pedigree, before you even try out for the NBA, you already have agents knocking at your door. You have basketball agents coming who want to represent you, because what is an agent? An agent is the go-between between jobs and the talent. And an agent only wants to sign people who they think they can get a job, because the only way an agent makes money is when their clients make money. So an agent is going to go after, they're going to be hanging around at Duke and North Carolina because they want to sign these guys, because these guys are going to get offers from somewhere, even if it's not the Knicks or the Lakers, right? So an agent's going to reach out to a D1 player, and if that D1 player doesn't make the NBA, then the agent's going to try to get them a job overseas, and they probably will get an offer. Now, whether you want to take it or not, or you want to go overseas, you feel you're going to be homesick, whatever, you're going to get an offer. Now, a player like me, I went to a Division III college. When you play Division III ball, it's hard to even get an agent to want to represent you, because the agent is looking at your pedigree. Because you got to understand, overseas teams, they're not scouting Division III college basketball games. They're just looking at your resume, and they're looking at where'd you play. You played at a D3 school. Even if you average 25 points, or you average 25 playing against D3 players. These guys aren't pros. You're playing against guys who are going to become an auto mechanic. They're not basketball. They're not pros. So you did your thing, but no, we're not impressed. So this is why I went to that event I told you about called an exposure camp. I needed to go there to prove that I could play against pro-level talent. I had played D3 college ball, but I wasn't playing against pro talent at D3. At that exposure camp, I proved that I could play against guys who were already overseas. So when I went there, that's how I got an agent. Now, had I gone to, what's a big time college, USC or UCLA, I wouldn't have needed to go to that exposure camp. I would have just had an agent. The agent would have got me the deal. So I had to take an extra step. So once you have that agent, now your job, when you're signed to an agent as a professional athlete, this is the hardest part of the job. And it's the same way with someone who's like an actor in movies or TV shows, is you really kind of got to wait until the phone rings. That's the hardest part of the job. You have to wait till your agent calls you or emails or texts you and says, hey, here's a job opportunity, or hey, if you're an actor, here's a casting call for you to go to. And then you go, and then you just got to wait for somebody to say, okay, we want them, we want you. And that was probably the hardest part of the whole situation. Once I signed with that agent, is every few days or every week or so, I'm reaching out to my agent. My agent's reaching out to me like, yo, just stay in shape, keep going to the gym, keep working on your game, because when the call comes in, they want you to go like 2 days later, you need to be on that plane. And when you get off that plane, they're going to want you to get on the court. And when you get on that court, like I already told you, you better be ready to go. So this is the hardest part of the job, is continuing to stay ready, even though you have no idea if or when you're ever going to get the opportunity to show that you're ready. So once you get that call from your agent or a team, then you get on the plane. Usually is very short order. It might be the next day, it might be 2 days later. You got to hop on that plane, you get off. Hopefully you get to sleep that day when you land on the plane, and then the next day they expect you on the court and you're in practice. Might even be a game. And they're looking at, everybody's watching you. And if you are not satisfactory the way that you perform, that's it. They'll send you right back out. And if you're good, then you get to stay. So it really is a kind of a meat market-ish type of situation, but you got to be ready to go. And this is what makes the pros, is that you got to be ready to go that quick and do your thing if you want to keep that job. So that's the process of getting on overseas.
That is a crazy process. So say, okay, so say, this is my career, right? I just made it to overseas, brand new to the environment, new to everything. Man, what's my lifeline? What's my do's and my don'ts for trying to just either maintain or just, stay overseas?
Okay, so let's just say you signed in Greece. All right, so you just landed in Greece. You're playing over there.
Yeah.
Number one thing is being game shape.
Okay.
Being game shape when you get there. Now, a lot of athletes have a misconception of what game shape means. Game shape doesn't mean you have nice looking muscles on Instagram. Game shape means you're ready to play. Yeah. Game shape means you're ready to play in a 40-minute professional basketball game running up and down the court, which means for anybody who plays ball, if you're trying to play overseas, you know what your coaches made you do to get in shape when you were playing in high school and in college. You need to be doing that by yourself. Meaning doing those sprints, suicides up and down the court and all that conditioning stuff. You need to be doing that on your own, because when you get over there, the coach will tell you, like, yo, you're not in game shape. You need to get in shape. When I first signed, I remember one year I was playing in Montenegro, and after the first practice, the coach didn't even speak English. So one of my teammates had everything the coach said, he called me and the teammate over. The coach would talk, then the teammate would tell me what he said, then I would say something back, then the teammate would tell the coach, and it was like this triangle conversation. In the first practice, the coach said, you need to get in shape. I thought I was in shape, but I wasn't. So I need to get in game shape. And luckily, I played well enough. I showed enough talent that they didn't get rid of me. but I need to get in game shape. So you need to be ready to perform that first day. Secondly, you better be ready to impress that first day, because a lot of times the teams will tell you, because they know how players are thinking. They know that people like me are out there saying what I'm saying. So they'll say stuff like, look, we're not evaluating you based on just this practice, because we already know we like you. We saw your game film. We already know about your background. So don't put pressure on yourself. You had to perform well today just to keep your job. All right, that's a lie. All right, if you don't perform well that day, you will not keep your job, because I've seen it happen to players. So you better be ready to impress the very first day that you walk in, unless you already have a guaranteed contract. And understand that also overseas is not like America. All right, they don't have the same legal systems in other countries. This means just because you have a contract doesn't mean you want to get the money. And trust me, there are many stories like that out there from players playing in different countries. They don't have the same judicial systems and legal systems that we have in America. So you got to be ready to perform that very first day, be ready to impress, be in game shape. And you were just saying, what are some of the do's and don'ts? You want to be careful on social media, because, again, when you're playing in different countries, you have the language barrier. Even though people may speak English like you do, a lot of times English is not their first language. So some of the things that we say, like those subtle things that we say that are like funny, they don't quite get it. It doesn't translate over the same way, so they don't take it as a joke. So you might joke about like the food that they're giving you, or joke about the housing that they have you staying in, or you might make a joke about your coach or about the teammate, and you're being tongue-in-cheek. And someone who's a native American English speaker, they will understand what you're saying, no laugh, but they don't quite get it. They think you're trying to be like negative. You might get released because of that, because you said something that the team thinks like you're being nasty about the situation. So these are just little things you got to be careful of. When you're an American playing in a foreign country also, especially if you're black, because if you're white, you could kind of, like Brady, if you were playing overseas, you could blend in. All right, they might not know that you're American. But if you're black, walking around one of these countries, everywhere you go, everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows who you are. So even if they're not pulling out their phones and taking pictures of you, they see you, they're talking about you, and word gets around. And you can't speak the language, so you don't know what they're saying. And so if you're out partying, if you're at clubs, you're with whatever girl, you get in an argument at the bar, everybody knows about it. Even if you don't know that they know about it, they know about it. So you don't want to develop their reputation as a person who's more focused on something other than actually playing the game, what you're actually over there for doing. So you just got to be careful about how you move around. Be careful about who you're communicating with, what you're doing in your spare time, because everybody knows every move that you make. When you're a brown-skinned person walking around a bunch of fair-skinned people, it's just common sense. So these are other little things you got to pay attention to. And the last one I'll give you is just figuring out what you're going to do with your downtime. Being a pro athlete, one thing I tell people all the time is that a long day at work for you is about 4 hours. All right, that's a long day at work. You got maybe a 2-hour practice in the morning and 2 hours at night, and usually it's not even that long. So you have the rest of the day to do whatever you want to do with it. And what are you going to do with that time? You need to figure out how you're going to use that idle time. This is why you see athletes rapping. Most of them should not be rapping, but you see athletes rapping. You see athletes playing video games, and athletes making clothes and doing fashion and doing everything outside of playing sports, because we have so much time on our hands. What are you going to do with that time? Me, I was making videos and blogging and writing books. Other athletes, again, they're making albums and playing video games. So what are you going to do with that downtime? You need to really think about that, and also just think about your future, because pro athlete careers it's like the shortest career that you could possibly be in, is being a professional athlete. You're 35 and retired. All right, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And those are things you need to be thinking about from the very beginning, because some athletes only play a year and it's over. Some athletes, if you're lucky and amazing, you might play 20, but then you're 40 years old and retired. All right, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? These are things you got to think about from the very start.
You didn't want to get into the rap game?
Not me. No, I'm not rapping. I'll listen to rap, but I'm not rapping.
No, I think that makes sense though, to see why you see like so much creativity comes out of some of the athletes because of that downtime. Once they put in their 6-hour workday or whatever, they working on other facets of their life, whether it be writing books, playing video games. That's why you see so many players that are streamers now or play video games, because they got all this time on their hands now.
Yeah, ain't nothing else to do.
Right.
Exactly.
what's some of the politics like overseas? Like, I mean, I know we see some of the politics here in the NBA with the stuff that we see. What's some of the politics like overseas? Is it any different? What could one expect?
Is a little bit different overseas because a lot of times you're dealing with people who might not even be speaking English. So whether it's your coach might not speak English, or the general manager, that's the person who was actually responsible for signing you, might be the owner of the team, might not speak English, and you may be working with two different agents. For example, if I have an agent, let's say I was your agent, Desmond, and you're the player who plays overseas. I'm your agent and I live here in Miami. I might not know people over in Portugal or Greece where you're playing, but I know an agent who works in Portugal and Greece. So I'm going to work with that agent. Me and him are going to collaborate on getting you signed to a contract because that agent over there speaks Greek and I don't. So they can talk to the team. So now if something's going on between you and the coaching staff tells the Greek agent tells me, and I tell you. So now we got this telephone game going on. And these are the kind of, you have to navigate these communications. And then if something's going on with the contract or they're late with the money and all these things going on, a lot of times you're not working directly with the organization as to what's happening next or what's going to happen. You're working with people who are speaking a different language or someone who may be bilingual. And again, you do not have the same protections or when you're in a foreign country that you have in the United States. A lot of us who grow up in America, we get spoiled and we think that because of the rights that we have here, that everywhere we go to, those rights are transferable. That is false. You have those rights on American soil, but when you go in other countries, if they stiff you on a contract or they're missing out on some money from you, you can call a lawyer and you can go to court, but it's not guaranteed you're going to even get a trial or really get your money the way that you're supposed to. It doesn't work that way. Doesn't mean you're never going to get paid, but these are things that come up. I know players who have played overseas who 2 years later are still trying to get their last 3 payments from a team that they played for in 2019. These things happen. So those are kind of some of the political things that go on. And again, in America, there are political things we can hear what people say, but over there, you don't even know what they're saying. So it's kind of like you're going second and third and fourth person as to who's saying what and how people feel and things like that. But one thing that I do want to emphasize that when you're playing ball overseas, and this could be any sport actually, is that the fans over there and even the owners of the teams, they do it more out of pride for their community and for the town or the city or the country. It's not just about money. It's not just all capitalism. In America, everything's about the dollar, right? But in overseas, the teams over there, a lot of teams over there operate at a break even, or they might even take a loss. And the owners can afford to take that loss. They can afford to just break even because they don't operate the team as one of their money-making ventures. They operate the team kind of out of pride. Like, I love this city or I love this country or I grew up rooting for this team, so I want to help this team out. So it's not about making money for them, whereas here in America, everything's about dollars and cents. So you as a player have to understand that everything's about winning to them. It's not about the individual either. Here in America, in basketball, everything's about the individual player. Like, this guy's better than this guy. Who deserves the MVP award? Or you should be guarding him because you're supposed to be the best player. Things like that. Overseas, not like that. Overseas, you could be the best player on the team and you don't even start. You might only play 18 minutes out of 40 in a game, but if the team wins, you should be just as happy as if you score 50 points. And if you're not, they might get rid of you because you don't have the right attitude. And these are, again, little things that you don't really understand until you go through it. But hopefully, people like myself, I put value out there so people can understand. I tell people things just like I'm telling you all right now so that they can understand this before they get over there. It's not about you as an individual over there. It's not about stats. It's not about your personal highlights. Those things don't matter over there the way they matter over here in the United States. So you got to be ready to contribute and be part of the team. And the team goes before everything, 10 times before anything about an individual person.
Yeah, that's one thing, as you were saying, that's one thing I just didn't realize about the overseas game and just what goes behind the scenes with being over there and trying to get the money and just trying to fit in and trying to do the job. So I'm glad that you were telling that to us because that's just things that I would never have just known. And I'm glad we know that. But how can someone become successful as like a player overseas and or like trying to start their career, whether it be in the game of basketball or if they want to venture from basketball and go into the business side?
That's a great question. Another deep question. So if someone wants to be successful playing basketball overseas, first of all, you got to have talent. All right. And there's this saying out there that says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's not actually true. It's not. If you don't have talent, you're not beating anybody with hard work. All right. You need some talent. All right. You're not beating Kevin Durant with hard work. All right. He could take a whole week off. If you have no talent, he's still going to beat you on day 8. So you got to have some talent before you get into the game. You got to have talent to even get a chance. So once you get in with the talent, you must keep your game sharp. You got to stay on point because, as I've told you, emphasized already, you have to be ready to perform every single day. You have to learn what it means to be a professional. And being a professional is not just about skill and talent. It's about showing up every single day and doing your job. That's really what being a professional is about. And when you're playing overseas, again, since everybody's watching you, that means even in practices, even in weight training sessions, whatever you're doing, you got to show up every single day and deliver. Because if you don't, think about how many players there are sitting at home in the United States right now who think they belong overseas, but they don't have a job. So if you don't want the job, or you show you don't want the job, there are 1,000 people who will gladly take that job from you, and you will be replaced that quick. So keeping your job overseas is staying sharp, staying in shape, not doing anything stupid that jeopardizes your career away from the court, which we see happens with a lot of athletes, college and pro, in our world these days. So don't do anything that's going to jeopardize your career or anything that could even possibly jeopardize your career. If you got to think about it, don't do it. And when it comes to transitioning, like you were asking there, Brady, about going from playing sports to getting out of sports, is you want to prepare ahead of time. The same way that right now the NBA playoffs are going on, right? And football season is going to start in a couple months. I know a lot of people are excited for that, and they're going to have full stadiums and all that. Athletes don't just show up at the game and think that they're going to be able to execute and do everything. They practice, right? Professional football, they got training camp for a month. Basketball, you practice. You got a whole training camp that comes before the season. Before the actual performance, a whole bunch of preparation has occurred. It's the same thing with athletes when you need to start thinking about from the beginning of your career, what are you going to do after your career? You don't wait till the day that you retire and then the next morning wake up and say, now what am I going to do? All right, it's too late by that point. Not saying you can't figure it out, but you should have been thinking about that from the very start of your career. The good thing is that the NBA even brought me in to do some speaking gigs a couple years ago. The NFL does this, and I'm sure baseball, hockey, I'm sure they do it as well, is that they bring people in to speak to the current players and tell them and talk to them about, hey, here's some things you need to think about now. I know you're a rookie, you just got signed to your first contract. Here's what you need to think about when you're done playing, because this career might not last as long as you think it does. The average professional athlete career is less than 5 years. I mean, the longest is baseball. It's like 5.5. Basketball is like 4.5. Football, 3.5. So the average tennis player, professional tennis player, earns $300,000 total their whole career. $300,000 total, which is, it sounds like a lot of money, like in a lump sum, but when you think about your whole career, that's not a lot of money. And you're paying your own expenses when you play an individual sport like tennis or golf. You pay for your flights, you pay for your food, you pay for your trainers, you pay for the hotels. And again, people don't think about these things. So when you really add it up, it's not that much money. And let's say you live to you're 80 years old, you're an athlete, you're in good shape, you're retired at 30. What are you going to do for the next 50 years with $300,000? So these are kind of things you want to be thinking about from the very beginning. What else do you bring to the table as a human being outside of being an athlete? Because yes, you were great as an athlete. Maybe you won some championships. Maybe you even made the Hall of Fame. But understand, when you're 50 years old, not too many people care that you won a championship when you were 33. The further away you get from an accomplishment, the less that accomplishment matters. You know, I played professional ball. I stopped playing in 2015. So 5 years from now, I'm probably not even going to talk about it as much as I do now, because it's not as relevant, because it's 10 years ago. Like that, what else did you do? There's going to be some 18-year-old kid looking at me like, you used to play ball. All right, what you doing now? You know, that's how people look at it. Like, what have you done lately? What are you doing now? So you always want to keep moving yourself forward mentally, emotionally in your life beyond what you did in sports. Now, I'll tell you something I heard Kobe Bryant say right after, it was right around the time when he was getting into the making of films and he was doing kids' books and coaching girls. And one of the things I heard him say was that he said, 20 years from now, if the greatest thing I ever did was what I did playing for the Lakers, then I failed, because it means I'm kind of living off my past. I want to do more as a businessman, creator, or whatever he was calling himself after basketball than I did during basketball, because I'm alive, why not? And Kobe probably made enough money that he didn't need to do anything. Most athletes don't make as much as Kobe made. They actually will need to do something to sustain their lifestyle, or no, even just pay their bills when they're done playing sports. So really thinking about that ahead of time and finding people who are already doing it, people who have already succeeded at it, and people who can help you. All that downtime that I talked about earlier, all right, that's one of the things that athletes need to do with that downtime, is figure out, all right, who am I and what else do I bring to the table if it's not putting a ball through a hoop? Because that could be taken away from you just as quickly as you got it. So what else do you bring to the table? That's the question you really want to answer from the very start.
Yeah, I know even for myself, I'm not even an athlete. I know I try to figure out, what else do I bring to the table other than just my, day-to-day career. And so, I mean, that's why I try to, work on different tidbits outside of just my day-to-day life, so I can start just having just different avenues, different avenues. If I want to, just wake up and just want to start going down this way, at least it's already developed or planned out. And I know what steps I want to take, or what steps are, what plot holes I want to avoid and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's just the facets of life, man. It's just the game of life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
no, and also too, I know we have people on the past that have said this too, and it speaks more the more we can have people on, and it seems to see the repetitiveness of it, is that sports is only going to last for a certain amount of time. And I think that's what,
That's
as
right.
you've been saying, what you're trying to get other people to know, and what we're trying to do with this is like, sports isn't going to be forever. You have to find something that you can do after that, because once that's gone, you'll be sitting there like, okay, now what do I do? Because if you just invest your life all on just one thing, and then that's gone from you, and then you'll be like, okay, now what do I do? And you're going to feel like, okay, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. So I'm glad that we have you on to help explain this for the people, because I think it's something that people just don't realize and understand, that, as you said, like, it could be gone just as fast as you got it.
Yeah, true. 100%.
Yeah. What's through work on your game, right? What's some of the biggest tips? I don't say biggest tips, but what's some of the best pieces of advice that you can give people today, right now, that's trying to figure out who they are or what they want to do?
That's a really good question. One thing that I tell people when they ask me, Dre, how can I figure out, some people ask me, how can I figure out what my passion is, what my
Yeah.
purpose is in life? And one thing that I tell people to do is ask yourself who you wanted to be when you were 8 years old. Who did you want to be when you were a kid, before life and these adult situations that we get into, before they started telling you and you started to be conditioned that you had to be more quote unquote realistic, before you had to be more serious about life? What did you want to be? And it doesn't mean that you need to go back and now try to become a firefighter or a movie star, but it's remembering when you didn't have these constraints on your mind, and what was it about those things that you wanted to be. Why did you want to be that when you were 8 or 9 years old? What was it about being a movie star? What was it about being a firefighter? And when you can tap into those emotions and the reasons behind it, then that can give you a clue into maybe what your passion is now. Another thing you can do is, sometimes people say follow your passion, for figuring out your career. We tell that to adults. But I think a better piece of advice is follow your energy. Now, follow your attention. Where are you actually giving attention and energy? When you have a day off, or you have next week, we're going to have a long weekend. We got 4th of July weekend coming up. What do you want to do? What do you do with that time off? When you can do whatever you want, what do you do? Are you playing video games? Are you reading? Are you writing? Are you making YouTube videos? Are you on TikTok? What are you doing with your downtime when you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do? That's a clue into what you could spend a lot of your time doing. And the great thing about the world we live in now, as opposed to even 20 years ago, is now there's a way to pretty much make money doing any of those things. 20 years ago, if you played video games on the weekend, you were a loser, right? And what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Now, professional video gamers is a full-time job. Now, you can make a living just playing video games if you're good enough. So there's plenty of opportunity to take basically anywhere that your energy is going, that your attention is going, that it could become a passion, it could actually become a business. So if someone's really trying to figure out where do they go and who they are as a person, just look at what you're doing in your free time when you have open space to do whatever you want. Where are you naturally gravitating towards? That's a clue. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the exact thing, but that's a clue into what direction you need to go. So you want to pull on those threads, get more information, find somebody who's doing that thing for a living and see if you really want to do it. See what it really takes. Find out what it takes, because again, another advantage that we have over even just a generation or two ago is that when you find something that you think you might want to do, you can find a podcast, you can find a book, you can find a YouTuber who's talking about it. They're telling you everything you need to know about it, and you can find out, all right, do I really want to do this? All the information is freely available to you. Only thing that is necessary is for you to be seeking it, and then for you to do something with that information. That's it.
That's facts, because you got Google University, you got
Right.
movie YouTube, you got just everything that is out there that is freely available. And so, the question that comes back to you, every day is like how much time you're willing to put in. What's the work ethic looks like that you're trying to put in to get to where you want to be. Like, if this is what you want to do, if it's your passion, it should be easy for you to sit down, take some time out your day just to figure out how to do something new, or how, if you're watching someone stream, for example, if you are, how do they do that particular part, or how they create that graphic, or how do they edit their videos like that. So, it's all different, like tidbits that you kind of figure out if you're passionate about something and you just want to sit down and take time to figure out how to do XYZ things.
Facts.
Yeah, and with all that too, with all this piece of advice, is there anything that you know now that you wish you would have known, say, 5, 10 years ago?
Wow. Well, there are a million things I wish I known. Everything that I talk about is something that I wish I knew earlier. But one of the most important things I would tell, let's say I'm talking to somebody 18 or somebody just graduated from college, is investing in yourself. And when I say investing in yourself, it doesn't just mean money. Money is part of it, but also time, attention, energy, and focus. Putting those things into yourself, because those things pay back. I mean, people have to understand the difference between a cost and an investment, or an expense and an investment. An expense is something that you put the resource out and you're not getting anything back. It's just costing you. But an investment is you put something in and you're going to get even more back in the future. But you have to make the investment up front so you can get that return on an investment. And when I say investing in yourself, one of the most important things is getting the information, getting the knowledge. So that means going to the library, or nowadays going to Amazon or going to YouTube, reading the books, subscribing to the podcast, finding people like you guys, finding people like myself who are resources. They've already been where you want to go, and they can give you the information. All right, they know the people that you need to know. They have access to the people you want to have access to. Getting that information, and a lot of times, gentlemen, really is just time. Time is the most important asset that we own. And if you're willing to put the time in, you can get any other resource. If you want to put the time in, you get as much money as you want. If you want to put the time in, you can find the energy, you can get the attention, you can find the focus. So really, it's where are you investing your time, and are you making good investments that are going to pay you back, or are you making poor investments that are going to cost you in the long run? That's a question that all of us need to be asking ourselves on a consistent basis. So to answer your question, something that I wish I had known 5, 10 years ago, or something I would tell somebody 5, 10 years younger than me, is really think about what investments are you making on a consistent basis. Are they going to pay you back in the future, or are they going to cost you in the future? Your future you is either going to receive a dividend check, or they're going to receive an invoice based on the actions that you take today.
Yeah, that's definitely where I want to get to, for sure. And I mean, that's for any, for all the audience, the listeners, the viewers, anybody, work on your passion, work on what's gonna, help provide a better future for you, and just as Dre just mentioned, is this gonna, turn into a dividend down the road, or an invoice? So just, tidbits of life, man. I always I got a catalog and like a library of stuff that people that just came on our podcast and just dropped for us, man. So it's always educational for us when we had these, man. So
great stuff.
Yeah. What does your daily schedule look like right now? Because it's like for me, I feel like I'm just living in chaos part of the time. Like I'm just going everywhere, put out fires. What
Yeah.
what does your daily schedule look like, and how do you get into that routine and kind of just stick to it?
That's a great question. It's actually the topic of my next book. But what I do is every day I wake up at about 3:45 a.m. Eastern, and first thing I do is I drink a liter of water. I try to drink 6 liters every single day. I'm only at about a little bit past halfway today, so I got to catch up as soon as this interview's over. So I drink a liter of water. I do a yoga routine, which is only about 10 minutes, and then that's combined with stretching, foam rolling. I do meditation. That'll take about 30 minutes, and I do that while I'm doing the yoga. I don't sit down with incense or none of that with my eyes closed, none of that. I will fall asleep. I do the meditation. I eat 2 bananas, and then I go work out. So that's the first outside activity I do is go work out. So that'll either be like a cardio. I like running outside. I don't do basketball anymore. I'll lift weights. I'll do a boxing workout. I got a boxing trainer. So those are usually the things that I'll do when it comes to working out. I got some exercise bands that I bought off Amazon, because during the pandemic, you couldn't go to the gym. So then I'll do the workout. When I'm done my workout, shower, shave, get dressed. I'm listening to podcasts while I'm, shaving and getting dressed. I usually go outside and take a walk. I live in Miami, so the weather is walkable all year round. About a 1 to 2 mile walk through the neighborhood every day. Then when I come back in, I have a protein shake, and by then it's probably about 8 o'clock. So the first 4 hours of my day is all, I guess, what they would call self-care, me doing things for myself. I don't actually start work till about 8 o'clock a.m. And from 8 o'clock till, let's say, about 8 to 5, that's when I'm doing work, whether it's doing interviews like this one right here, whether I'm working on a book, whether I'm putting together some content materials, I'm writing emails, writing articles, reaching out to maybe possible speaking gigs, or I'm doing coaching sessions, consultations, putting together advertisements to get my products and services out there to the world. Is not the same schedule. Between 8 and 5 is not the same stuff every day. Like I told you, I just came back from Vegas. I was doing a speaking gig out there. So it can be all kinds of different things that are occurring in my quote unquote work time. But that's kind of how it is when you're in entrepreneurship, that it can be anything, any single day, especially if you're the main person doing a lot of things. I have an assistant, but it's not like I got a 50-person team handling everything. I handle a lot of things on my own. I pass some things off to my assistant, but it could change from day to day, everything that I'm doing. Then by about 5 o'clock, to continue, I try to stop working. I try to give myself a hard stop at 5 o'clock so I can get to sleep on time. Because to get up that early, I got to go to bed early. I take another walk in the evening. That's when I actually see people, because nobody outside the early walk. And then when I get back in, what I've changed to is I have another protein shake. I usually have 2 protein shakes now. I used to only have 1. I have another one at night. And then I try to be laying down by like 7 o'clock and lights out no later than 8, so I can get a full night of rest. I'm trying to get actually a little bit earlier so I can get more sleep. I found I perform better mentally and physically when I get more sleep. So I'm just trying to optimize my day I'm trying to get the 9 hours a night. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying to get there. So that's what my day looks like.
Well, damn.
I know. I'm
Go
still
ahead,
sleeping.
B.
I'm still sleeping at that time. Sometimes I'm even awake and realizing I go to bed in like a couple hours. But that's awesome.
Right.
I know you mentioned being an author and writing books. What made you want to do that? Like, what sparked that passion?
Man, that's a good question. I was always into reading from a very young age because my mom is an educator. My mom's like a teacher, and she was always into early education. She likes teaching young kids. So when she had young kids, my sister's a year older than me. So when she had young kids, she obviously taught us. So my sister and I were both reading and writing probably before we even started formal schooling. So I think we were both pretty ahead of the curve. My sister was even better than me. So around 2010, this is when I'm a few years into YouTube. This is just when social media is starting to really blow and people are starting to be like, oh, I can make money posting stuff on the internet. I heard about self-publishing, where you could just go on Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing. You could put your own book out without going through any gatekeepers. You didn't need anyone's approval. So at this time, I had this audience of people watching me on YouTube. These were just basketball players, but they kept asking me, about my background, about my story. and I was already blogging. I was actually blogging before I was on YouTube, but blogging didn't, blow up. YouTube is the thing that blew up that people knew me from. So I was always writing. So by that point, once I heard about self-publishing, I thought, well, why don't I just write my own story and just put my own book out? So I wrote my first book. It was called Buy a Game in 2010. And Buy a Game is just something one of my 8th grade classmates told me. He was just basically telling me to get some skills. Like, Dre, you need to go buy a game. You need to get some skills. You ain't got no game. So I took that advice and I named my first book after that advice. And it was just my story from when I started playing up through my college years. And I put that book out for free, and we gave away probably 100,000 downloaded copies of that book from back then until to this day. We still get that book out to this day for free. And that's how I got started. And once I put that book out, people just gave me great feedback about it. They just liked the way that I told the story, and they liked my writing style and my communication style, because I write the same way that I talk. And the funny thing is, about 5 years later, around 2015, when I found out about how to make my own audio books, I went to make the audio version of that first book. And of course, when you make the audio version, you have to read your own book. So when I'm reading the book, I realized how terrible the writing was. The writing was not even good, because I had gotten a lot better at writing over the years. So when I started reading that book, I'm like, man, I need to fix a whole lot of this book, because it wasn't edited or anything. It was just, I just wrote it and put it out. And the thing is, even though that book was not so well written by my updated standards, nobody ever complained about the book. Nobody complained about the typos or any grammatical errors, because they just liked the story so much that they didn't even pay attention to the mistakes. So that's how I really realized, like, I should write more books and write more. And that's how I got into writing. I just started writing about the same stuff that I was talking about. So like I told you, I was making these YouTube videos talking about mindset that were called the Weekly Motivation. So I did the Weekly Motivation every Monday for about 400 weeks straight on YouTube. And that became the source material for a lot of my early books. So like the Mirror of Motivation, which is about discipline, the Super You is about confidence, the Mental Handbook about mental toughness, Mental Game Best Practice about personal initiative. All of those were sourced from stuff I was talking about on YouTube years earlier. So that's how I got into it. And every time I would put one out, people would read it and say, yo, Dre, this stuff is really helping me. It's really helping me change my life and change my outlook. And the thing is, like I said, it was the same stuff I was already talking about on YouTube, but it has a different impact on people when they read it in a book than when they watch it in a video, because the video is kind of like disposable. The video comes and goes. Like somebody asks you for a link to a video, you send them a link and they're like, well, Dre, this video is old. It came out 6 months ago. I'm like, dude, if I made another one, I say the exact same thing, but they want the new thing. But people don't look at books the same way. We treat books like the book could be 10 years old, but we treat it like it's new if we heard about it today. But if you send somebody a link to a video that's 10 years old, they don't want to hear it, even though the material is exactly the same. So it's just funny the way people look at things. So with books, it's kind of like a more permanent version of what you're saying. So that's when I noticed that about books. I just went and just took all the frameworks and all the ideas that I would have, and I said, all right, I'm out, just write another book about it. And because of the power of self-publishing, I didn't need to go through any gatekeepers. I could put out a book as fast or as slow as I wanted to. I could go back and change something in a book and just put out a different version of the same book as much as I felt like it. So I've done, most of my books are published through my company, Work On Your Game. I have done a book with a traditional publisher. That was my book actually called Work On Your Game. So that's how I got into writing, and why I still write to this day, because I think there's more permanence to a book, again, than there is to content. Even though we all love content, there's more permanence to a book.
That's all interesting. So my next question is like, so do you feel as though that you run into like a writer's block, or even a like content creating block sometimes, or even just like this mental fatigue from doing that?
Never. I've never had a writer's block or a content creator's block. The thing is, and I'll tell you why, is because number one, I started creating content before it was cool to create content. I don't even think we were calling it content when I started blogging and YouTubing in 2005. And the other reason is I didn't get into the game when I saw there was money to be made in the game. When I was blogging and YouTubing in 2005, 6, 7, 8, there was no money. Now you can make money from putting videos on YouTube in 2008. It wasn't until around 2009, 2010 that they introduced You can get the ad revenue and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, people were creating content just because they had something to say.
Yeah.
I was putting material out because I had things that I needed to say that I couldn't not say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still what I do to this very day. And then I'll give credit to this guy named James Altucher, who's an author himself. He has a podcast himself that's named after him. He talked about this thing called the idea muscle. And the purpose of the idea muscle is very simple. Every day you just want to come up with 10 new ideas and just write them down. It don't have to be good ideas. You don't even have to do the ideas. You just want to come up with 10 ideas every day. And the reason that you do that is because coming up with ideas, that muscle is kind of like a muscle on your body. Like if you stop exercising it, then the muscle goes away, it atrophies. So the idea muscle is just you giving yourself exercise at coming up with ideas. So then when you actually need an idea, you already have the skill in place. So I started doing that, and I still do it to this day. Every day I write down 10 ideas. Some days I do a lot more, and occasionally I come up with less, but usually I average at least over 10 ideas per day over the course of a year. And those ideas, that idea muscle, is how I come up with new content all the time. So everywhere I go, everything that I do, everything I experience, even something that I don't like, I get an idea from it and I just write it down. And that is the source for all the content that I put out. So how I can put out a new episode every day without repeating myself is because I'm always writing down new ideas, and I'm always thinking of just new ways of looking at situations. So anything I hear people talking about, or I see somebody getting mad about, or people getting happy about, or people getting excited about, or somebody just asked me a question I've never been asked before, that's a new idea. And I write it down, and that becomes the material. So the answer, do I ever get writer's block? No, I don't.
That's good, because I'm one thing that I've been doing on the side is that I've been working on building a platform on Twitch for just like for just me go video, like just stream video games and stuff. So I'm always in a lot of people's chat, just checking out their content, just writing down ideas and writing down things that I would like to try to do on my stream or on my platform. And so I was just curious, I'm looking at you as like my futuristic self, like, all right, if I do this for X amount of times, am I ever going to get like tired or bored of it? And you answered my question. So
as long as you're talking about things that you really want to say, then you'll never get tired of it. Is when you start thinking of it like I have to do it, that's when you get burned out.
Very true. Very true. What switching gears real quick, going back to basketball real quick. What because now you're starting to see, like, we're at the point where we're starting to see high school athletes, right? Either go over to college or start to sign overseas and then come back over to try to play professionally. What's your thoughts behind that? How do you feel about what will be, I would say the better route to take, because every athlete would be different, but what's the thoughts of now, athletes going to go play ball overseas before they go jump into the professional?
I think more options is good. I think more options is good for the players, because now they have some say into where they could possibly go. Now, it's not like it's so wide open. Like, if you look at the players who are going overseas, or right now even the NBA G League is signing players. Like the NBA G League, they have the Ignite program where they're signing players for, I think it's $500,000 for the season in cash. And then they can go into the draft. And I think two of the guys who are going to be the top 5 picks in this upcoming draft are coming out of that Ignite program. They otherwise would have been playing at some college for, quote unquote, for free, which is a different conversation. But the players who are getting those opportunities to get paid in that year after college before entering the draft, they're still top 20 players. So you got to be in the top 20 in your class to even have that opportunity. So the other million players who are playing high school basketball don't have the same option. So it's not like everybody can do it. It's a very select group of players like LaMelo Ball and the few other players who have done it. These players are top ranked players in their classes before they get this opportunity. So I want to make sure people understand that, because I get high school players reaching out to me. They'll send me a DM on Instagram like, Dre, I'm graduating high school. What's the chances I go play overseas before I go play pro? I'm like, dude, what are you ranked? Are you even on the team? How are you going to go overseas? Like, you couldn't play high school. How are you going to play overseas? That's not happening. So I think it's good that the option exists, What I think the natural next step is, let me not say natural, but the next step is either, maybe both of these happen. A, the NBA is going to drop that age limit and they're going to allow high school players to just enter the draft again. And then players have the choice of just going straight to the NBA if they want to do it. Or B, the NBA G League, they expand that program that they have to where there are many more spots for high school players to forego the NCAA, where they are not allowed to be compensated directly with a salary for playing, and they can go to the G League and they can at least get paid for at least that one season and then enter the draft after that. And it's all under the NBA G League, which is owned by the NBA. So at least they have the structure of, hey, this is what NBA life looks like. So they are being taught directly by the job that they're going to get hired by. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's kind of like an internship. If somebody wants to get a job, like you said, you're an engineer, right? You said, Desmond?
Yep.
So, yeah, if somebody wants to become an engineer, you get an internship at an engineering, somewhere where you could be an engineer, and then they offer you a full-time job. It's the same thing in basketball. Why not let these players get an internship, a paid internship, and then they can go play in the NBA? If the NCAA does not want the players to get paid because they want to keep up this concept of they're amateurs and they shouldn't get paid because they're amateurs, while at the same time the coaches are getting paid and the universities are making money, then yeah, that's a bad business deal for the player. But at the same time, if the player accepts that deal, you can't sit there and bitch about it while at the same time you accepted it. Like, you accept a scholarship that says you don't get paid, you can't complain about it. But if you don't want it, then don't take it. Go overseas. Go to the G League if you can get it. But people have to understand, this is capitalism. This is the open market. So if nobody's offering you an overseas contract, then nobody's offering you a G League contract, and the only thing offer you have is a D1 scholarship, you can't take the D1 scholarship then complain that you're not getting paid like you deserve money. Well, if you deserve the money, then where's the money at? Where is it? If you deserve this, somebody should have offered it to you. So this is business. So once you step out of high school and you decide to get into this money game, you are in the professional world. And in the professional world, you get the offer that you can secure. If nobody makes an offer to you, then that's what it is. And this is why I think the NBA needs to drop that age limit. Let players, if they want to, you want to jump from high school to the league, okay. Now, if you fail and you wash out of the league in 2 years, you can't go back to the NCAA and say, give me a chance. All right, this is the choice that you made. You made an adult choice. You got to live with the adult responsibilities. So that's, I don't even remember what your question was, but that's where I see it going when it comes to players who want to take that possibility of going overseas, and or now that I think the G League is a better option just because they can stay in the United States. And if you're going to go to the league, you're going to be in the USA anyway. So you don't need to go to Australia to get ready to play in the league. You get to go to Kansas or Ohio and then go to the league. And so that's how I see it going.
Yeah, that's I like that idea. I like what you're saying about they should open it up, lower it down, let people make that decision for themselves. Because I think You'll see a lot of people decide what's best for their future instead of they have to have this set path. Okay, I gotta do this, I have to do this, gotta do this, and then realize it's not what they want to do. With that, what can athletes do like more of or like less of within their game, and like trying to go different places and stuff?
You mean as far as professionally, or what kind of game you talking?
Yeah, professionally.
What athletes can do more or less of? Well, one thing is you just got to continue to add to your skill set, because at the professional level, we can see that the game has evolved over the years. If you look back at the Michael Jordan days, and even the Shaq Kobe days, even the Iverson days, or the early LeBron days, the game has changed a lot. Now we got everybody shooting 3-pointers. Now it's moved into the era that kind of Steph Curry ushered in by making the 3-point shot. And the game is continually evolving. So players must keep evolving their game. They got to stay on top of what the game is. Make sure you're staying in game shape, staying ready to play. And that's one thing that I think players need to keep doing. I think players are already doing it. They need to keep doing it. What players could do less of, not even necessarily that they had to do less of anything, but they had to just make sure they keep their focus where it needs to be. If you're going to be a professional at anything, that's your number one thing. Being a professional is something that has to be your main focus. Like, nobody has ever been great at being a professional at two things at the same time. Nobody's ever done it. All right, so this is why I say athletes shouldn't be rapping, because I haven't heard a good athlete rapper yet. All right, I've seen them try. I haven't heard anybody who's actually good at rapping and good at basketball at the same time. And there ain't no rappers who can play basketball. So, and there's a reason for that because you can't be great at two professions at the same time. It is not possible because you have to give your focus to that one thing that you're going to be doing. So I think with a lot of athletes these days, especially because now we have all this interconnectivity through the internet, we see all these options and possibilities of what we can do. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. And you look at somebody like Michael Jordan, look at someone like Kobe Bryant. What else did they do besides play basketball? We don't know about anything else they did. All they did was play ball. I mean, they had their little commercials and stuff, but all they did was play ball, and it's pretty clear they were the best players. Right? It's pretty clear, at least in their era, they were the best players because they focused on that one thing that they were doing. So I think athletes out there, if you're talented enough, you can divide your focus and still at least have a job and get a check. But if you want to make the most of your talents, you have to really bear down and focus on that main thing that you're doing. Even when it's not yet producing the fruit yet, you still got to focus on it. And that's the discipline. That's the mental toughness. And clearly not everybody has it, whether we're talking athletes or not, but that's the choice that you have to make.
Go ahead, B.
No, that's good. That's glad that we are able to hear that because that's one thing that people and athletes now need to realize that can't be, as you're saying, can't be focusing on two separate entities and things to do because you're either going to start focusing more on one and then leave that one behind, but then you want to go back to that one and like switching back and forth isn't going to be the greatest thing because even on your mental health, you're going to be like going here, but then going here, and then you're going to ruin the schedule that you have set up for you, and you're going to be missing so many opportunities, so many things. And that's good that you've been able to give that to us. That kind of was our last question for the interview portion. So now we're going to go into our rapid fire portion, which is a game that Desmond and I play with everyone we have on the interview. So my question to you first is, are you ready to play?
Of course. I love rapid fire.
Gotcha. So first one we're going to start off with is, are you a chocolate chips guy or oatmeal raisin?
Oatmeal raisin, 100%.
Let's go.
I like soft oatmeal raisin. I like the soft, chewy kind of oatmeal raisin.
Yeah. That's the only way we can have it.
Yes.
All right. TV shows or movies?
Neither. I don't even own a TV. All right. You know what I like watching? I like watching documentaries on Netflix or something like that. But I don't really watch TV.
Okay. We'll take that answer.
Yeah.
So, what is the favorite sports moment that you've seen and or have witnessed in your lifetime?
Wow. Favorite sports moment I've seen or witnessed? Damn, that's a tough question. Man. There's been so many. I was watching when Michael Jordan made the last shot, quote unquote last shot in 1998. That's one that comes to mind. What's another one? When the Miami Heat, when LeBron came to Miami, I was watching when he made the decision, and I live not far from the stadium. So I remember the night that he announced he was coming to Miami, taking my talents to South Beach. People were celebrating in the streets like we won the championship. People were honking their horns, standing on their balconies, yelling out their window. He wasn't even here. He was in wherever he was when he did the show. People were celebrating like we won the championship. Remember that little celebration they did the next day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like we won the championship. He wasn't even in Miami yet. So I remember that. That was just entertaining. I don't know if it was inspiring. It was just entertaining when it happened. But that whole run, that whole 4-year run, Miami felt like the epicenter of sports just because of all the attention that he brought with him. So those are the two I think of.
Okay. Favorite jersey colorway in the NBA?
I like black and red. I like those two colors. So my brand is black and red. Miami Heat is black and red. Other team does that. Portland Trail Blazers do it. I just like black, red, and white, of course. Black, red, and white, those three. That combination I always like. Chicago Blackhawks. They got a little green in them, but yeah.
Okay.
So if you had to choose a top 5 for the NBA players, what would your top 5 be like?
You mean today or all time?
All time. You can do all time.
All time. So we'll start from like 1990 because that's around the time where I was paying attention. I don't want to go any further back than that. 5 players. Michael Jordan, of course, is number 1. It's not even competition. LeBron James is going to be in there. Tim Duncan. 5. Give me a healthy, in shape Shaquille O'Neal. Not fat Shaq, but in shape Shaq. And I got to go Kobe. LeBron, Kobe, Mike, Tim Duncan, Shaq. Yeah, that's my 5.
Okay. If you had to choose between either Shaq or Tim Duncan, who are you choosing?
For what? For what purpose?
Just anything. Just like, yeah, just anything.
For anything?
Yeah.
Well, if I want a guy that's just going to dominate in the paint, if I want a guy for one game to just dominate in the paint, I want a healthy, in shape Shaq. Now, if I'm talking for a career, longevity, 20 years, I'm taking Tim Duncan.
Fair
All
enough.
right. Yeah. So now the next one, then what'd you do? Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant?
Michael Jordan. No explanation necessary.
That's fine. All right. You get a chance to take over any organization. Who do you take over?
In what sport?
It can be anything. It don't even have to be sport related. It could just be. It could be Nike, for example. It could be sports related. You could choose any organization. Who do you want to take over and why?
I'll give 2 answers. In sports, I'll take over my hometown Philadelphia 76ers. I think we might need to trade Ben Simmons after what just happened in the playoffs. Yeah, I think Ben might need to go. He needs to change the scenery. And we got to get the right players around Joel Embiid. He's the franchise. We got to build around him, put a bunch of shooters around him, same way the Cavs did LeBron, and we're going to go as far as he can take us. So that's how I would do sports-wise. Business-wise, I would take a company like Nike, and I would license from me, work on your game, because I think Nike needs that slogan, but they have to license it from me. So I pay me to license me for work on your game. And I make that one of Nike's new slogans, and we put that on some gear and sell that to the world. With their marketing budget, yeah, everybody in the world would know about work on your game within about 3 weeks. Yeah, so that's what I would do.
Like that idea.
No, that's good. So that was kind of wraps up all the interview today and everything we've talked about. So where can the listeners, the viewers, the people watching this, where can they follow you at, like on their social medias or anything like that? Where can they find you?
Sure. Well, I got a new book coming out. Can I tell them about that?
Yeah,
Go for it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, of course, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is my name, just Dre Baldwin, one word. But my newest book, I got it right here. It's called The Third Day: The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. Now, this is a not for resale copy. That's that gray bar right here. But your copy won't have that on there. But this book is my most popular framework. Whenever I give speeches and talk about stuff, this is the one they remember. The third day is about any situation in your life when the newness has worn off, the novelty is gone, and you realize that the thing that you're doing is an actual job. It's not all fun and games. There's actual work that needs to be done. Just like we talked about with writer's block, or Desmond, you talked about with Twitch. At some point, you realize, all right, I got to actually do some work here. It's not all fun and games. That's the third day. It's any situation when you are not quite feeling your best, but you got to give your best effort. Or maybe even on your worst day. That's what the third day is about. And in this book, I explain what it is, how to handle it, how you overcome it, how you can create that discipline by leveraging your own mental toughness and setting yourself up for success through setting up your routines, setting up your processes, setting up your disciplines so that you don't have to use willpower every day. You don't have to decide every day if you're going to do the work. You set yourself up for doing that work so that it becomes habit, it becomes routine, it becomes unconscious, so that you can deliver your best work on a consistent basis, because that's what people are expecting from you when you have the word professional next to your name. Now, this book, I will give you the book for free. All we ask is that you cover the shipping. You can get it by going to thirddaybook.com. Thirddaybook.com. The book is in pre-order right now. We're shipping out all orders on launch day, which is August the 3rd. But you can pre-order the book right now for free by going to thirddaybook.com. All you're going to do is cover the shipping. And I'm going to do a free live online event for everybody who pre-orders the book. That event will be on August 1st, but the book ships out August 3rd, and you can order it right now. One more time, thirddaybook.com. And I'll give y'all the link and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to have to get that link. Definitely have to look into that and order one of those myself. But for the people listening and viewing us that are following us along at Capturing the Game, you can follow us on Instagram at capturing_the_game_pod. You can find us on Twitter at CGG_podcast. And then you can search us up on YouTube and Facebook at Capturing the Game Pod. Again, Dre, we'd like to thank you for coming on and joining this podcast with us today. And we hope that we can have you on again here sometime in the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this conversation.